I am honored to introduce Marco Hernandez, who is presenting Making Data Viz at the New York Times. So Marco has worked in graphics for over 20 years, including working at Reuters Singapore with Gorman Bhatia, La Nacion Costa Rica, and the South China Morning Post. He joined the New York Times in 2021 and has received more than 160 awards from the Society for News Design, including World's Best Designer in 2021. He is a Pulitzer Prize winner, or finalist, sorry, in 2020 for his work with Reuters covering the protests in Hong Kong, and won in 2023 and 2024 for the coverage of the war in Ukraine and Gaza, respectively. He is also honored with the 2023, I hope I'm saying this right, Marjorie Award for Innovation and Leadership in Journalism from Ball State University. So please welcome to the stage, Marco.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Well, my name is Marco. I'm a graphics editor at the New York Times. This title is kind of funny. What a graphics editor means at the New York Times is this is a person in charge to do interviews, code, maps, animation, everything. It's like the janitor of the company. He has to do everything. Yeah, I've been doing this kind of janitor work for about 20 years now in different countries. It seems like janitors are required in different countries like Costa Rica, Hong Kong, Singapore, and the US. Since I joined the Times, I've been doing a lot of reporting about the war. Some of my pieces use a lot of illustrations. I try to sneak illustrations often if the topic allows me. So war is sometimes a little bit abstract, so I get the opportunity to do that. Like in this case, explaining front lines in Ukraine. One of the most extensive and demanding things I have done for the Times was this analysis of damage of the war in Ukraine. We mapped around 14 million buildings. And to do that, I spent a lot of time. The process of the project lasted for about 2 years. I was not exclusively doing that, but I mean to go deep and see satellite images just to corroborate that the data that we were getting from radar was actually accurate. So I mapped basically the whole country, and at the end we published not just the online version, but a few pages on the print as well. The backstage of this project, which was very exhausting, is there available on my personal blog. You can see a little bit what's behind, but I would say maybe one of the things that I spent most of the time was just checking after the satellites, just to be sure that the story we were telling was actually accurate, because there's a lot of automation. I mean, you cannot actually go and confirm each of the 14 million buildings. So I did a lot of these tiny little hand annotations on top of the maps. But let's talk about a little bit of the tools we use at the New York Times. Often we face a problem and we have this story that we want to do, but there's no tool right for that particular process. So we just create the tool, and often we release that tool publicly, open source for many of you. Some of them, of course, just keep it for ourselves, like the publishing system and all of that. But I want to talk to you a little bit of this one in particular. Just no particular reason, just because I think it's kind of funny and interesting to do. Basically, this tool takes the timelines. I don't know if you're familiar with After Effects, but we can put things, all the narrative of the story, into timelines in After Effects, and then export, run, and script to get out of that a JSON file. That JSON will be wired. into the project, and we'll handle all the interaction that we want. We just need to do 2 versions, one for desktop, one for mobile. But this is pretty straightforward for tiny little capsules within the story. And the way it works is basically on After Effects, you got this timeline, and you got properties like position, you got opacity, you got scale. All of that is taken by this script to get exactly time for this particular asset, and then get extracted in a file that looks a little bit like this. No one really needs to go in there and see what's in there. This is only for computers. We handle those assets with tiny little annotations within the story, and there's kind of capsule embedded either in a Google Doc or our own publishing system. So one of the stories uses this sort of way to tell the capsule, the visual capsules in the narrative, is this one about the Cathedral of Notre Dame. This is actually a story about sound. So it has a lot of 3D models, really nicely done. But the main thing is about how the building itself uses the space to make the sound a little bit more different. And this is one of the graphics that I really liked, just because in this case you can control the sound with the scroll. So depending on the position you are in the story, you'll hear something different. Just to explain this. Oh, we don't have sound. Okay, you can imagine that this the building is changing shapes, and it will get you the sound as it is in the cathedral. So this story is not just a visual exploration of the cathedral, but also about how the sound makes a very like niche and unique thing on the story. I have done a lot of maps. Our team is about 60 people at times, doing graphics only, like janitors, 60 janitors. And we all have like areas of cleaning. So some of our colleagues work closely with maps and geographic stuff. Some others do more 3D stuff. Some others are more on the coding side. I'm one of those generic that doesn't fit anywhere. Not skillful enough to make the same level as them, so I tend to jump to one area to another, which is a thing that I really enjoy. Sometimes I got the opportunity to do work with satellites and maps like this one, showing how the East Coast is sinking. And this one is actually using the same satellite information as the Ukraine project that I showed you before, but in a different way. At the end, I also had to put together some pages for the print, but I feel like the most rewarding thing is when you get to learn from the people that is actually reading these pieces. I got a message, a really nice message from a teacher in Texas, saying that she was struggling to explain this to her students. And when we published this, the online piece, this one, she sent me a message to, can you please print me out a PDF of your interactive? And I was like, well, you may want to buy the paper tomorrow. It's going to be something like this, maybe easier for your students. She missed the day then, and the following, she was asking me, can you send me a copy of the paper? And it was so moving that at the end, I print out a huge version of this map for her, and I ship it to Texas. But it's really rewarding, you know? That's the best thing of my job, I think, getting comments from our readers, which half of the time are not that pleasant. So if you're working at the New York Times, and I'm sure that many other media, there's no way you can escape from elections. Elections here is very demanding. So the way we approach to this is to prepare some graphics and stories, actually, like 6 months, 3 months ahead. We create a lot of different graphics. They have to populate data automatically, and they will give us a bunch of different versions of each of these graphics. In this case, this map showing the difference from the past selection. But at the end, we may use maybe from out of 60 maps, we may use 1 or 2. That's a lot of work that we have to do previously to get that day. Just focus on the story, like written words, and just pull the graphics, the right graphics that we want to use for these stories at the end. A lot of this thing is about scale. The next project that I want to show you is not from the New York Times. It's actually on my time on Reuters when I was actually working with government. And we have this nice headline saying, we all consume about 1 million bottles of plastic bottles every minute. So I thought, well, maybe you want to see how much 1 million bottles looks like, but not just a pile of bottles. What if I can have the website at the top, the story, to put a guy and drop on top of his head 1 million bottles? I did that with a computer, not that different to this one, almost burned out. And at the end, it was really a really nice thing to try. The story goes progressively showing you from 1 minute to 1 hour to 1 day to 1 month to 10 years of plastic. Now I live right underneath that pile. I live in Queens, in Astoria, which is almost there, under the shadow of plastic. But I think this kind of messages, maybe they're not fancy, super complex graphics, but they're powerful. They have a story behind, and they create a very effective message. Sometimes we're looking for fancy interaction with the graphics, and oftentimes you may get a stronger image with something very simple, a pile on top of a popular city, and that's it. If I may advise here, is to share. I really like to share things when I have the opportunity to create something for someone else, just to explain how I do things, how I work usually. So I tend to do these tutorials on my blog, showing ways to create things, maps, or stories, or illustrations of things like this. So in this case, this is a tutorial to create these kind of maps that looks like Minecraft, or voxels, actually is the name. My process often is a little bit complex, because I tend to mix many different softwares and ways that maybe are not the best. But if we all share, oftentimes I got people asking like super specific questions, and I found, well, maybe there's an easier way to do this, and I take that, an input from someone else, and apply it to my own work. Like, I can make this better. So sharing is a good thing. Another piece of advice maybe is get some fun. Life is too short to be so serious all the time. So if you can plug off regularly, you will do your work way more efficiently. I think when you clear your mind, you come back next day feeling fresher. So 2 years ago, I started unplugging completely from reality to do silly things on Sundays. So every Sunday, I was finding a weird bug somewhere to make an illustration in a silly situation. This thing makes no sense, but it was really fun. I don't know, my wife doesn't really agree, because I'm in the second year doing illustrations every Sunday. This year the thematic is mythical creatures. And this Sunday, I'm gonna close this cycle for good. My wife is very happy. But I don't want to let go of these kind of things that unplug you from reality. Um, so sometimes I know my wife is right. Sometimes I get too much fun and gets out of control. One example is this thing that I got on my website. I call it photography. On top of the maps that I do for the New York Times, the blogs that I do every Sunday, the tutorials that I share with people, the feedback that I got, I thought, well, maybe I got a little bit more time to do something else. So photography is a collection of maps that I do for fun, not because someone is requesting me to do this map, but maybe because I'm in New York and that particular day was snowing, and I thought, well, wow, how far the snow goes? So I plugged in some data and made this quick animation for November 2023 to see how far the snow goes. So I hung these things on my website, explaining how I did it and where it comes from. And the last one that I did was a selection of cities, basically taking samples of very different cities and showing the heights of the buildings. This is basically a portrait. What if we make little planets of different cities? You got here Tokyo, you got Singapore. I picked the ones that I feel more like close to. I used to live in Singapore, now I live in New York. I love the stuff you can see in Tokyo. So they have a special meaning for me. Another piece of advice, again, is share, and I want to share with you the Outliers, something that is meaningful for me. Not just the slides that are here, but you also have some sources where that I get data from. I got some recommendations for you, like books and things. You'll find a spreadsheet over there with comments and things, tools, sources, books, whatever. Each of these slides, you will get access to the projects that I show you with a free link, so you can just make use. And you can always come to my page, the New York Times, nyt.com/by Marco Hernandez, or my website. I'm also in a lot of social media networks, so if you have a question, a particular thing, a project that you want me to see, something that you want to share, you find a bug that I want to see, maybe, just shout out, and I'll be happy to talk to you. And I think that's it from me, if you have any questions.
All right, so our first question comes from Anna. What tools do you use to create your sketches and drawings?
I started using Illustrator for this, but it was very restrictive, so I went to Photoshop and just got a Wacom tablet. The thing is very similar to draw on paper. But often I start doing these weird things on paper, and then I took pictures and then moved to Photoshop to do brushes. It's funny that the first question is about the weird stuff that I'm doing.
Raquel is going to move the mic around the room for in-person questions.
Can you talk about the process of deciding on the print graphic from the interactive and going from something so complex and 3D to something 2D and very constrained by space?
Yeah, I think at the times the philosophy is, well, first, print is not a priority. I got to make the case to create a version for the print. Otherwise, I would send the assets to another smaller team that we have within the same graphics team to work in a solution for the print. But doesn't mean that we are giving up the print and not paying attention anymore to it. That means that the product for the print will be a complement. It's not exactly the same thing you will see on the print and online. Online has priority, especially on mobile. But then you need to edit and see what's the essence of this story and what are the best ways to explore the capabilities of the print with this particular graphic. I do a lot of maps, actually, so it's a little bit easier. Just, well, I'll take this map, I create another version. Often the assets from the online doesn't really work, either because color contrast or quality on size. But I do generate I do generate a lot of files around it. This is a thing that I've been doing for many years. Each of these projects may have 20 or 40 versions of it. So at the end, I'm so sorry for my editors because they need to go through a long process of iteration. But I'm sure that at the end, with their guidance, we'll get a good product both for the online and the print version.
We have a different Anna asking online, where do you find inspiration for your personal projects?
Inspiration comes from anywhere. I go out for a walk every morning or ride a bike, and I hear podcasts. And many times I found story while hearing a podcast. Like there's something weird happening in this particular town somewhere. I remember once I was hearing 99% Invisible, which is a really nice podcast. And they were talking about this guy in Kazakhstan fighting or trying to make a campaign against the war using Instagram. And the guy was just hiding small figures in monuments and public spaces. And he was using Instagram just to raise the voice, but without being caught by the police, because otherwise you'll end up in jail. Many people are like, this is too soft. It's not like a true story. But I was able to dig on a little bit more, and I found like many people following the same trend got to jail because they were caught like, this is posted under your name, the police come to her house and put a huge fine on them, or just ended up in jail. So the story was a little bit deeper. So I talked to a lot of people in Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and I managed to do this one story about the tiny little figures. Sometimes it's just that I got boring at home, like it's snowing, so I want to do a map. Sometimes it goes for photography. Sometimes it goes to a real story at the New York Times. There's also a huge amount of assignments. So there's a huge team of editors behind me adding things on top of each other. And I was like yelling all the time. But yeah, I mean, I think I did this just because I liked it. I enjoyed it so much that I can keep just can't stop.
Thank you. Perfect.
Oh, so nice to see so many hands rise. Thanks.
With your visuals online, how do you think about ADA accessibility?
Our team has, again, like I told you before, we have specialities within the team. Some do maps, some do that. So there's also another group dedicated only to have alt text for each of the graphics, description for even the videos and all that. So we take that very seriously. At the end, there's also another editor behind us checking that we fill all the requirements. I'm a little bit more lazy on personal projects, so the stuff that I hang on my website sometimes does, sometimes don't. I'm guilty, I know. But sometimes I go in a rush, like even if it's a personal project, I create a commitment that I have to publish this thing before the end of the day. And I think that's why my wife is angry with me, but yeah.
Susan online has asked, what is the general timeline for a project or article? Do you ever have tight timelines? And if so, how do you work with your team to meet that deadline?
Yeah, this thing comes in different sizes and flavors. So the map that I show you for the elections, that was planned way ahead, but the day for publishing, you got just a few hours to select the pieces, grade down the text, and publish. I did my first assignment when I got to the Times was actually for the Beijing Olympics. I think it was the so I blanked it. Well, anyway, it was for the Beijing Olympics. I can't remember which was the piece itself. But that one project, we did it in 4 hours. There was a team of 12 people working, some in Beijing, some in New York, some in London. We packed all together and published that piece, which just within hours. But there's also this project I'll show you about Ukraine that lasted for 2 years. Of course, we need to juggle, we need to handle those things. I got always 3 projects running all the time on top of each other, so different lengths. Sometimes it's just a week, sometimes it's that day, and sometimes hopefully not, but a year or 2.
Thank you for all of that. I had a question about tools. So we all, I at least use AI to HTML quite a fair bit. ArchEML is another thing that a lot of people in the database community use. Now I know so many other things that you're hiding from the world, which is amazing. But one of the things is, how do you folks at the New York Times recognize that this part of the process, we should have a tool for it? Like, you know, I want to understand that because we often see those gaps, but there are 2 parts to it. One is to recognize we should build a tool for this, and then second is with the realistic timelines, etc. Do you have dedicated people who just build tools, maintain them, etc.? So would love to hear, how do you folks do it?
Sure, yeah. First of all, they're not hiding. Here they are. Many of them are public, so you can go and use it. We are not very efficient in explaining and sharing out of the world, like here they are. Some of them have even their own wiki, so you can go and make questions and you will get the answer in there. But how we make those? Well, it's usually when we are walking through a project and then face the chair that could not go. So we just come together and say, well, we need a solution for this. Maybe not for the next project, maybe not for the following one, but if we take 6 months, 1 hour per day for these folks that are super good on coding and these folks that are super good doing whatever the tool needs to do, we could come together and make it. There's one tool that handles Blender directly into the browser, so you don't need to render anything. That's one thing that the guys on 3D have been working for about a year. Eventually, the thing will come out. But yeah, I think that's the only way we face the problem. I need to do this, I need to do it faster, or I need to do this in a more efficient way. What's the tool available? Well, there's nothing like that. Let's build one of those. That doesn't mean that we will put someone to work exclusively doing that tool. It will last for a long time, and maybe eventually we'll test, we'll do some projects, and we will release that. Not long ago, we just published our first Figma to HTML graphic, which is nice integration because you don't have to run the script. So it goes directly from the file on Figma to the, well, it's risky, but it goes right away to the story. So it cuts out run the script and upload the files and take everything like AI to HTML. But it doesn't mean that we are giving up on certain tools. I don't think tools are super important. I think the story, the thing you want to tell is way more important. You will find a different way to achieve that one thing. I'm sure that if people here uses Blender, There's someone else back there that uses Maya. I'm a Cinema 4D user. So all of us will use a different tool, but at the end, the goal, the final product will be good anyway in a different way. So tools are just tools. I will not advise to students and professionals not to worry that much into tools. Worry about the message of the story, the thing you want to say. Make it like more powerful, and that's better than concerning about tools. Here are some, and maybe someone else will come up with a smarter way to do things tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Marco. That was an incredible talk.
Okay.